Today, we're talking about possibly the most technically unusual diamond in the world. I'm Matthew Weldon, and this is the story of the Dresden Green, the greatest natural green diamond ever found. Fania, have you ever come across a fancy colour diamond?
I don't think I had the chance yet. I really hope to in the future, but the fancy color not yet. Definitely not a green one. Although you have mentioned that there is one in our safes.
There is one. It's actually it's a pear-shaped diamond, like the Dresden Green. It's a really good colour, and I've actually never had it tested, and it does need to be tested because one of the things about green diamonds is that it's almost impossible to distinguish a natural green from a treated green because essentially the treatment is the same. Like it's radiation that turns them green, and now in the earth it's over a long time that turns it green, and then obviously treated ones it happens much quicker, but to the naked eye it's indistinguishable. But that green one will pop it out because it's actually quite large for a green diamond. Not as large as the Dresden. I think the Dresden is something like 41 carats. Like, this is the largest natural green diamond known. It was cut before 1741, but the polish is very good on it for such an early polish, which makes it quite extraordinary. What do you think of the shape of it?
Generally speaking, I think it's an extraordinary stone. It's like substantially quite big. It's very impressive to hold. As you said, the polish is great. Considering that it was like cut and polished so long ago, the fact that it's in such great condition is extraordinary. I've never actually seen a green diamond that looks so vibrant, apple green almost. I would say. And the shape itself, like it's a pear-shaped and brilliant, right? It's a brilliant shape,
Yeah,
pear-shaped
pear
diamond.
shapes are like antique pear, which is called penduloc, basically.
Okay.
But like when a diamond's 41 carats, it doesn't even fit into a category of shape generally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, it's a pear shape, but it's a once-off kind of a shape, really, at that size. And I thought it was interesting. You said it's quite impressive to hold. I didn't realize you had actually held it before. But yeah,
In my dream.
yeah. And I guess the other thing is the clarity is very good. VS1 very slightly included. Like, if I know a lot of our gem pursuiters are excellent diamond graders, and they'll know it goes flawless, internally flawless, VVS, VS, SI, I. And we talked about that in our last couple of episodes about diamond cut and gradings and evolution. So have a listen to that if you want more detail, right? But this is a VS1, which is very slight included for a very big diamond and a colored diamond. It's pretty extraordinary clarity grade. And also, like, in the trade, they don't look at clarity so much for colored diamonds. Let's say you had a 2-carat cushion cut D color diamond, white stone, right? If it's flawless, it's going to be worth a lot, right? And the clarity grades, as they get lower and lower down the scale, makes a pretty big impact. But the clarity in colored stones doesn't have as much of a bearing. Like the price difference between a 2-carat fancy green diamond flawless and a 2-carat fancy green diamond SI2 wouldn't be as much between that of a white stone because it's a colored diamond. What you want is like this beautiful color.
Yeah, makes sense. We focus on the color when we're dealing with fancy color diamonds. And what an impressive color. I was talking with Colin, our in-house gemologist, before this particular episode. I was consulting him on like colored diamonds and specifically green diamonds. And he mentioned that the way this type of color is created, this phenomenon in diamonds, is quite rare. And it's fascinating. He mentioned that in order to have a green diamond, you have to expose the stone to radiation. So this means that this particular one, which is a naturally green diamond, was exposed to soil or rock that had radiation for like thousands and thousands of years, and as a result, it has this beautiful, vibrant green color. I wonder if it's dangerous. It's naturally radioactive, which doesn't mean that it's dangerous. It was formed through exposure to radiation. But I wonder, like, if it's dangerous to hold. Have you ever heard a story or an incident about diamonds that are green and like being dangerous at the same time?
Not for radioactive reasons, Fenia, no. Yes, it is radioactive, but I think almost everything is radioactive. Like, one of the most high levels of radiation that you will be exposed to is flying, right? Because you're so high and there's not the atmosphere to protect you against the sun's radiation. That the guy who was shown to had his Geiger counter outside of the leaded box, there's like no increase in radiation whatsoever. He says that he takes it with him, and when he's on the plane, he says the Geiger counter is like it's moving. And it's not the only radioactive gemstone either. There's treated glass that you'll see in some retro jewelry, and it is like this actually looks radioactive. It's like lime green glass. People really like it. Anytime we've had one, we've sold it like straight away. So it's not the only one, but no, I've never heard of it being dangerous. I'm pretty sure the Geiger counter would be zero.
I see. So if you have to choose between like a plane ticket and like a green diamond, go for the green diamond. Safer as far as like radioactivity is concerned.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, go
No,
for the green diamond.
in not just radioactivity, but for any reason. If you had to choose plane ticket, green diamond, pick the green diamond, people. Would you actually
Hold
would
it?
you hold it? Yeah, would you?
Oh, yes, if they allow me.
Yeah.
Hello, a green wall, Dresden Castle, if you want. I'll be very happy to hold it.
Now, it's typically the green diamond, and this is the other thing to do with color in diamonds. And I think I just want to go back to that for a second, Fenny, if it's okay, right? Because, and it's the same with colored gemstones. The color is not uniform in them, right? So even in a green diamond, it's not the same green throughout. If you picture like diamonds are rocks at the end of the day, right? Very, especially big ones of fine color are very rare stones. If you picture, do you ever be on a beach and find a rock that had like you could see like the layers in it and the different color changes in it? Look up a raw, an amethyst crystal in its raw state. That's a really good example. It's completely clear at the bottom, and then it gets more saturated in color as you go towards the top. So the color's not, it's clear and gets more color. The color's not uniform. And diamonds are the same. So if you look at a diamond grading report for a colored stone, it'll tell you how even the coloration is. We have a 2-carat fancy, intense yellow down in the shop. That is 2-carat fancy, intense yellow, even coloration, which is like the highest grade because it is supposed to be the most even color. But the reason I'm saying that is it also is the color might not necessarily, it can sometimes just be a surface color. And with green diamonds, because if you imagine the diamond is exposed to radiation, what part of the diamond gets exposed the most? The surface. So that's often its surface now, it penetrates down into it, which is why sometimes polishing those stones has an added level of difficulty, because if you do too much, if you see like if there's a little inclusion, you go, okay, we'll just polish that out. You could actually you could go too far. So
I
it's
see, and you could
really,
remove the color.
you could remove the color.
Fascinating. Okay, so you could have like a rough stone that looks green, but you have to polish it to make it like presentable and like to perform well light wise, things like that.
Yes,
But eventually this removes the color.
it can. But what's so amazing about the Dresden is the color exists throughout the stone, and it's an even distribution, and it's a giant stone. So like it's impressive, obviously, because it's just of its size, but like a technically the cert is also very, very good. Like the color is even, it's throughout the stone, it's the size of your thumb. Like it's a really extraordinary diamond.
Yes, and I assume this is the reason why it has been studied so much. for like its characteristics, not only for its beauty and like the role it has played in his throughout history, but also for its technical features. Like GIA staff members, gemologists have famously studied multiple times. We know that in 1988, they studied the stone to basically find a way to discern naturally treated green stones, green diamonds from the lab treated diamonds. And we hope that this particular stone will be able to give us more clues in the future on how to be able to detect and discern the two types of diamonds, which is fascinating if you think about it. So we're talking about a stone which is like impressive in size, beautifully cut and polished, especially considering how old it is, with a beautiful color that is evenly distributed throughout the entire stone, exceptionally rare due to the way it was created, and also extremely crucial in diamond research and gemology research. So, for many reasons, a fascinating stone to study and discuss. And also, I'm not sure if I'm correct, Matthew, but it's a Type 2A diamond. Could you let me know more about this particular type of diamonds?
You think of these big stones and they're this clear, they're almost always type 2A. And there is different types of ones. Type 1A diamonds, which typically can have more inclusions, but these type 2A are like a they tend to be larger, they tend to be very pure, and they tend to be from Golconda, right? Golconda mine, or like that word, like we must have mentioned Golconda mines a few times in the last couple of episodes about diamond grading. Very important mine in India where some of the best diamonds in history come from. It's a legendary source for these ultra pure stones, right? And when people, if you go to like an antiques fair, and I remember the first time I went to the Las Vegas antique show, right? I was only new to the trade, really. No, I was sorry. I'd worked in the family business my whole life, really, but I had joined it full time in 2015. So it was like a year, and I went to this show. I remember I walked around to this stand. I remember it was an N-shaped stand, and there was a big table in the middle, and there was two or three people there, and it was really quiet. I saw this like big, massive emerald cut diamond. Must have been about like 30 carats, something like that. And I remember asking the lady, and I said to her, "Oh, could you mind if I have a look at that?" Clearly, I was not going to be buying it, right? That was obvious. But she took it out, she showed me, and she said, "This is a signed Cartier, 1960s," and she says it's Type 2A. And I was like, "Oh." I was looking, I was like, it is like a big piece of like perfectly clear ice. It was, I can remember it to this day how pure this crystal was. And that is what Type 2A is. It has this just pure crystal look. And once you've seen, like, it's hard to explain, but once you've seen it, you'll know it, right? And the Dresden is believed to be a Golconda. Some people believe it's actually Brazilian because it's hard to say origin. It's not like sapphires where you can say this is Kashmir, this is Burma, this is Thai, this is basaltic, this is Cambodian, Australian, right? You can say that. Diamonds, it's really hard because it's carbon. Like there's not these uh, trace elements of other things which allow you to tell where it's from. So that's why it's so tricky. It was 1988 when it first went to GIA, which is very quite interesting when you think of this diamond was first polished, was it 1741? So it took 247 years before it went to a laboratory to be examined. Now, obviously, the diamond laboratories didn't exist. I think GIA was in the 1930s. It was set up in 1920s. It's the second oldest lab. Do you know what the oldest laboratory for gemstones in the world is?
No, but if I had to guess, would it be in like Amsterdam or Antwerp?
No, not a million miles away. It's Paris, I believe. LFG, I think, is the oldest lab. And they're very good. Like the French labs are really good. Like it's all in French, which is a problem.
Now
But
that won't be a problem for you.
no, it wouldn't. But if you think a lot of diamond language actually isn't French anyway, like what do you call a long, thin, rectangular diamond?
Oh my god, a baguette.
A baguette.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's lots of French words in diamonds, right? And actually, there's a fantastic shop in Paris who is it's run by a friend of the podcast called Olivier Baron, and it's called La Golconda. It's a really great shop. Yeah. So it wasn't examined until 1988, which I think is so interesting that there's this giant green diamond that people they had to examine, like they had it for so long, but they knew it was valuable anyway. And the tricky part is, and why it's so important, as you said, for people researching diamonds, it's so hard to tell because, okay, a treated green diamond is irradiated, a natural green diamond is also irradiated, but just in the earth. So it's the same thing. So it is quite different. Like they're both natural diamonds, but one is treated, one is not, and the treatment is the same. So it's quite difficult. And I remember I actually had another color gemstone. I remember I had a pink diamond that went to the lab, and even their testing process is different again because if you send like a white diamond to get, you can do an express service and they can get it done really quickly. With a pink diamond, they have to take some like I think for like 3 or 4 weeks because the color like it can shift for some reason, which I can't. They explained to me, so I couldn't remember, but I'll look it up for the next day. But there's some reason that the colored stone diamond, the colored diamonds, the certs take much longer because there's other things they have to uh, assess, and then they have to. I think they test the color in different time intervals. But we'll come back to that. I think in the next episode, I'm going to look into that. Actually, that's quite an interesting one. But this natural one is the natural radiation origin was confirmed, which we knew it would be anyway because it was green before people were irradiating things artificially anyway. So it had to be natural green. But like if you see, or if you're in the field, you're at an antiques fair, you're at a trade show, you're at an auction or whatever, and you see a green diamond, uncerted, it's something to bear on top of your mind. Just remember, they're nearly all irradiated. But if you can find one that's a natural one, you've got a great chance at like a real find. And let's just look at the history here of this green diamond. Like, when did we first see it?
Yes, so that's always a very difficult question when we're dealing with historic stones, like old stones. You always have to find the documentation. One of the first instances that this particular diamond was mentioned is in 1722 in London. So we know that there was a very famous gem dealer called Marcus Moses. And this particular guy was traveling all around the world collecting stones from India and selling them in Europe. He had lots of people that he was collaborating with in Paris, in London, places like that. And we know for sure that at some point he got his hands on this particular extraordinary stone and he presented it to the king at the time, King George I. He valued the stone for £10,000 and he tried to sell it to the king, basically. And we know that the king was extremely impressed by the diamond. And we actually have an article from a newspaper from that year, October 1722.
Like, I just found it amazing that there's a newspaper in 1722.
Yep, they go back a long time.
Yeah, I'm running the risk of sounding like a bit of a philistine here, but like they were normal back then, like newspapers like that, right?
I would say maybe they were even more normal than what they are today. Because like, have you ever like you don't see people reading a newspaper anymore, do you?
I actually do read the newspaper on the weekend. No, I love reading the newspaper. I like get a paper and a cup of tea and a scone and I read a newspaper. I hate reading the news on my phone. So I actually don't read it on my phone and then wait at the weekend and read it all together. Anyway, Fenya, before we go back, so this newspaper article from 1722 reports about this £10,000, which must have been king's ransom in those days. But what did they write about it?
So, in the same way that Matthew like reads his newspaper every Sunday, in the same way, a gentleman back in 1722, was reading an article in the newspaper, and he read, and the article went like that. So it said, on Tuesday last in the afternoon, one Mr. Marcus Moses, lately arrived from India, had the honor to wait on His Majesty King George I with his large diamond, which is of a fine emerald green color, and was with His Majesty near an hour. His Majesty was very much pleased with the sight thereof. It is said there never was seen the like in Europe before, being free from any defect in the world. So the clarity of the diamond, and it's exceptional like clarity, it's like apparent even in the article. And he has shown His Majesty several other fine large diamonds, the like of which 'tis said were never brought from India before. He was also the 25th to wait on their Royal Highness with his large diamond, and they were surprised to see one of such largeness and of such a fine emerald color without the help of a foil under it. We hear the gentleman values it at £10,000.
So it shows you, first of all, Georgian period, George the First, most diamonds were foiled backed. That's an interesting thing there, right? So they were surprised that this one was not foiled back and it was this color. Foiled back, if you can imagine, is usually the setting of the stone is like the stone sits into almost like a dish, and then the sides of the dish go around the stone and it holds it. And then at the back of that dish, they can put like green foil if you want the diamond to look green, or pink foil if it's pink topaz is one you always see in a foil back setting. And it's because pink topaz can be quite light in color, and they put like a pink foil, it looks really like vibrant. It's interesting the way he wrote that as well. Like, we hear the gentleman values it at 10,000. So Mr. Marcus Moses went to, I mean, it says there he arrived from India, which is really, to me, suggested it was an Indian diamond, right? He's a bit of a Tavernier, it sounds like, the English version of.
Tavernier?
Yeah.
Most likely. We know that he got around, and that unfortunately that he had a very sad ending. We know that he went for a last trip to India to try to source more stones, but ended up dying there destitute. So, not in a very good financial position, I would say.
He probably tried to buy a few too many big diamonds, I can tell you. It's interesting that it sounds like he asked the king for £10,000 for it. Inflation calculator, £2.8 million estimate. Yeah, okay, so that seems very cheap for that stone. I don't think I think it'd be tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions, actually.
The king definitely admires it. Uh, the like of which 'tis said were never brought from India before. A fine emerald color without the help of a foil under it. So yeah, the king was definitely quite surprised, and he admired the stone, but he didn't proceed he didn't buy it at the end of the day.
So what does that mean, Fenya? There's one more part there. Just when you see it says he was the 25th to wait on the Royal Highness. Was that like there's a queue of people outside?
I assume that there was a queue of gem dealers who were traveling the world sourcing beautiful stones, and they were trying to pitch it to the people who were actually who could afford to buy such items. As we mentioned in past episodes, for a very long time, diamonds and high-end jewelry that had this value were available only for the creme de la creme, like cardinals, royals, people like that. So it makes sense to me that queues of gem dealers would form in front of the doors of the royal court.
So then that's the first mention of it, I believe. 4 years later, the next mention, it appears in a letter from the Baron of Gautier of Dresden to the Polish ambassador. states that the green diamond is being offered to Augustus the Strong, Frederick Augustus the First.
Fascinating personality as well. Augustus the Strong. He was called the Strong because of his impressive physical stature. He was extremely large and physically strong. Sometimes people call him the Saxon Hercules. And he was known to.
Does that offend you? If any of that?
No, not at all. Doesn't offend me at all. Matthew mentions this because I'm Greek, so I feel very strong for Greek mythology and things like that. But no, of course, it doesn't offend me at all.
Augustus the Strong, right? So he's an impressive
fella. The Saxon Hercules was the second person who managed to get close to the stone. This particular guy was an elector of Saxony. So he was ruling over a particular principal state, the principal state of Saxony, which was a part of a larger political entity called the Holy Roman Empire. Later on, he became king of Poland as well. So he was ruling over two different political entities. I assume that this made him particularly I don't know, people must have seen him in a competitive manner because he acquired more land and things like that. But anyways, a strong political figure, a strong man physically as well, famously a huge admirer of precious stones and art. He created a series of chambers called the Green Vault, situated in the Dresden castle to this day. And this particular vault is very important because it is the home of the Dresden diamond today. Frederick Augustus saw the diamond. He admired it as well. He did not buy it at that point himself. But he created the vaults to store precious stones and jewels and works of art. And then his successor, his son, Frederick Augustus II, ended up buying the Dresden diamond and putting it in the vault. And the vault itself is very impressive. It's very, imagine a series of chambers that are colored green, the walls are colored in the color green, that's hence the name, mirrors, filled with fascinating stuff, like statues, enamel statues, and beautiful stones, silver, anything that you can imagine. So eventually the son of Augustus the Strong bought the diamond and stored it there. He wanted people to be able to see and admire the stone and all the other things that they owned.
The stone was purchased by Augustus II. He purchased it at an antiques fair. That's what happened. A dealer. So there's a couple of antiques dealers, or diamond dealers in this case. They showed it to these guys. The dad didn't buy it, and then he waited a while longer. And at the Leipzig Easter Fair in 1741, the son bought it.
Yep.
This is just business is exactly the same. It doesn't change.
So lesson of the story: go to antique fairs.
Yes.
He bought the stone, and then he placed it in the famous Green Vault. Very fitting, by the way, to store a beautiful green diamond in a green vault. As far as I know, the green diamond did not give the name to the vault. The vault got its name from the color of the walls. It is located in the Dresden castle, and it's available you can visit the Green Vault. It has we have the old Green Vault, which access to it is a little bit limited. There are a certain amount of people that can get into the vault, and you have to go on a specific day and a specific time. And then they have a new chamber right above it, I think. And that's accessible every day, and you can easily get in. And we have another reference of the diamond in a document from that time. Apparently there was a siege in Brunn, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It has umlaut, so Brunn, and the umlaut above the U, so there is a specific way to pronounce this word.
Umlaut, what are we talking about here
umlaut now? is two dots that are placed above certain vowels in the German language. And this particular city has umlauts above the U.
I
Uh,
think it's like a different sound, even that
yeah,
you don't even get in English. It's like, I'm not gonna say it, but I think it's like ooh, like brune,
yeah,
like
it
yeah,
affects the way you pronounce the vowel.
yeah,
If we have any like German speakers who are listening to us, please let us know how to pronounce it
yeah.
correctly. But anyways, there was a siege going on at Brunn, and the king of Poland was asked for heavy artillery. Like he was asked to assist, to help, and he refused to do so because of the scarcity of money. He had just spent 400,000 thaler for a large green diamond. And this is written in a collection of letters of Frederick the Great, King of Prussia, compiled by Max Hein in 1914. So yeah, he spent so much money at that antique fair. He bought that large green diamond, and then he couldn't spend money on like artillery for siege. When Augustus purchased the diamond in 1741, it was already cut. That's why we say that it was possibly cut before 1741, because when we had that purchase on that year, it was already cut. And he was the person who set the diamond, asked to be set in its first setting. And the first setting was a Order of the Golden Fleece, Order of the Golden Fleece badge. Are you familiar with this order, Matthew?
No, I've come across it before, but I can't really remember when or why.
It was in our last episode.
I see.
The Order of the Golden Fleece is basically one of the most famous and prestigious medieval
Chivalric orders.
in Europe. It was created by a guy called Philip the Good. And we know Philip the Good from our previous episode. He is the father of Mary of Burgundy, the lady who owned one of the first reported diamond rings.
Small circle of
Small
people for
circle.
this.
So if you go back to our Florentine diamond episode, you will hear us talking about Philip the Good. This guy basically founded this order. It's an order linked to Catholicism very strongly. So in order to get into this order, you have to be a Catholic ruler, royal person, king. And yeah, it's basically, imagine it like a club, like a very prestigious elite club, and they would meet and, I don't know, do their own thing. But it had a very specific badge, like a symbol, and you can actually play a game and go and search, like look at medieval portraits and try to see the badge around people's necks and be like, he's wearing the badge, he's a knight of that order, or he's wearing the badge, he's a
I've
knight.
never played that game.
We can play it together
Yeah.
afterwards if you
Great.
like.
Yeah.
So the Dresden diamond was firstly set in a badge of this type. And if you search online, it's basically, this badge usually features a ram, the skin of a ram hanging from a rope. And above the ram, you will see like a cluster of like flames. So yeah, this is how it
So
looks
it's like a big badge, though. It's like a.
It's a big heavy badge, yes. It's a big heavy badge, and the Florentine diamond was the Dresden diamond was positioned above the ram design. Firstly, side note for those who don't know, the golden fleece is not simply a very cozy woolly piece of fabric. It is actually one of the most famous and celebrated symbols in Greek mythology. It refers to the skin of a ram, a winged ram, very precious material that used to be hidden away in a beautiful grove somewhere in Colchis and guarded by a never sleeping dragon. It is mostly famous for its connection to Jason's story, Jason and the Argonauts. So Jason was given an impossible task by his uncle. His uncle asked him to retrieve the golden fleece from the grove, and if he managed to do so, he would become king himself. And this is the main reason why possibly people like Philip the Good named their order of chivalry after this particular symbol, because it is connected directly to notions of kingship and authority. We know the first jeweler who created this particular badge was Johann Friedrich Dinglinger. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And he did that. He created this particular setting in 1742. Augustus really liked this particular jewel, but 4 years later, in 1746, he asked a Geneva goldsmith to reset it into another, like the new design, still a golden fleece badge, but a new one. And this one was created by André Jacques Pallard. And it's particularly important and fascinating because this one featured not only the Dresden green above the golden fleece ram, but also the Saxon white diamond, another very beautiful white diamond, 50 carats, which was also in the possession of the Saxon royal jewels.
So they stayed in there for like what seems like 20 years, not that long really.
Yep, 20 years. It was in that second order of the Golden Fleece badge. And then the son of Frederick Augustus II decided to modernize the jewel. So he asked another jeweler in 1768. The jeweler is called Franz Michael Dischpach. I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. German. It's not
I think your pronunciation is very good.
I'm not sure.
You did German in school though, didn't you?
Our listeners will tell us how good my pronunciation is. But anyways, our German listeners. Anyways, this particular jeweler got the latest badge that featured the white Saxon, the Saxon white and the Dresden green, and created two separate settings. One of them is a hat ornament that features the Dresden green, and the other is like an ornament, I think, meant to like be worn as a brooch around the shoulder area. If you look online and trying to find pictures of the setting, this is the setting the Dresden green is today, you will see that basically the jeweler like got the original badge, broke it into two pieces, and then got those pieces of the puzzle and created two different pieces. And you can actually see, it's very distinct. You can see where the old piece starts and when the new begins. So yeah, gorgeous work, very good work. And yeah, this is where the Dresden diamond is at today.
The diamond went through a series of wars over the next couple of centuries. And thankfully, the people who were in charge of it took steps to protect it, right? The first one being the 7 Years' War, right? 1756 to 1763. It was moved then, along with the rest of Frederick Augustus II's invaluable collection, from the Green Vault to the Königstein Fortress outside of Dresden. Right? Obviously, in wars, cities are the places that tend to get like attacked, right? So this was just a little bit outside. So it moved it there for safe keeping. And it worked, it protected it well. They did the same thing again in the Wars of Liberation in 1813. The Green Diamond and the contents of the Green Vaults again, because, okay, we've the Green Diamond, but we've also got some other amazing pieces there that survived these instances. Removed again to the old Königstein fortress. In 1942, right, we're in World War II territory. Again, it was moved to the Königstein fortress for safekeeping. And as anybody who knows, when you hear the word Dresden, in my head, the word Dresden is followed by diamond, or is followed by the bombing of, or preceded by the bombing of Dresden, which was, so no one's going to ever condone anything that the Nazi Germans did, but if there was a potential stain on the behavior of the Allies, it could possibly be the bombing of Dresden. They absolutely razed the place to the ground, and they effectively had won the war, really, at this point. The city was flattened, and the Dresden Diamond was again moved to Königstein Fortress and protected there. Because that's one thing when you were talking earlier about the history of it I was thinking to myself, where did it go in World War II? Because Dresden there wasn't, by all accounts, there was nothing left. So
Thankfully, it was moved to the fortress because a big part of the Green Vault was destroyed during the bombing of Dresden. Like a part of it was destroyed, and they started rebuilding it afterwards. And today, like the old part of the Green Vault is basically it's half restored.
Then at the end of World War II, Dresden was under Soviet occupation. Okay, so the Soviets took over part of Germany, the French, the British, and the Americans took over the kind of western side of Germany, and Berlin was divided into 4 sections, but that was in the Soviet section, which is why you had the Berlin airlift later. But the Soviet Commission took the contents of the Green Vault to Moscow at this point. So it languished for years behind the Iron Curtain. And then in 1958, it was returned to Germany. And I'd love to know the intricacies of how that deal worked. And this is where it remains since then. 1958, it's been in Dresden. And it's quite incredible. It survived all of these different wars. And it really, if you look at the pattern, and it worked for them the first time in the 7 Years' War, they moved the diamond from the Green Vault to the Königstein Fortress. And they obviously learned that worked. Like, that's how they kept it safe. So they kept doing it. There was a heist in Dresden. It was in November 2019. I remember this. I remember hearing about it.
2019, so you were already 4 years in this business, like fully committed. If you started in 2015.
Correct. Full time. Yeah. And
2019, I was somewhere in Greece partying. I didn't read the news. I didn't know. It was the first year of my college, one of my first years in my undergraduate degree. So yeah, I didn't hear about it at all. So you heard about it in the news, you said?
I thought I was out to get some really good information there, Fenya. So there was a robbery at the Green Vaults, hundreds of millions of jewelry. This is probably one of the biggest heists ever. But surprisingly, 5 people broke in. A notorious Berlin crime family, right? They actually didn't get the Dresden Green Diamond. Like, they destroyed the place, but they just couldn't get into the Dresden Diamond's cabinet, it seems.
It sounds like an Ocean's 11 film. They got in because I think they set a particular, how do you call those boxes that are responsible for providing power to an entire neighborhood? Like there was a section in that neighborhood, like a particular box, they set that on fire.
We used to just call it the green box. That was what we called it, the green box. You see them around, like, where in cities and housing estates, there's like these just little, I don't know, transformers or generators or something. Yeah, okay.
So the entire neighborhood was in dark, no lights were operating in the entire neighborhood. They got to the castle. They actually removed the bars in the window, got in, smashed the window displays at 4 a.m. in the morning, and they got out very quickly, and they filled with the room with foam from a fire extinguisher to hide any of their DNA traces. And they managed to get lots of stuff from the collection of Augustus the Strong. Thankfully not the Dresden itself, because at the time it was not in Germany at all. It was actually loaned to the Met in New York. And this is the reason why we still have it to this day at Dresden Castle. They were just lucky. The curators were just lucky as far as this particular diamond is concerned. Not lucky in the general sense though, because the thieves did get many precious items that were meant to be displayed together. Augustus the Strong wanted people to have access to his collection. He wanted to show it off, and in a very particular way as well. He wanted the suite to be exhibited together. So they got very important parts of this particular collection. Thankfully, at some point, the police managed to locate the gang, and they took them to court. And the members of the gang made a deal with the judge, and they said that if we tell you where some of the jewels are, you will make, how do you say that? Like, we will stay.
Be lenient with the sentence.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
yeah.
So we won't spend that
I think they
much
call
time in
it. I
prison.
think I watch enough Criminal Minds to know that they call it a plea deal.
A plea deal. So they made this deal with the judge, and they let them know about the location of the jewels. Some of them were returned back to the Dresden castle. Some of them have never been retrieved. Possibly they broke them and they sold them. When you're dealing with such famous pieces, the best way to do it is to break them. Nobody will buy them.
Isn't that interesting though, that if you think about it, they probably had that plan in mind, that, you know, if we store some of them somewhere and then if we get caught, we have an automatic like get out of jail free card. Like, it's quite clever, actually.
It was a scandal at the time in Germany, because this particular gang also stole a large gold coin, like a huge gold coin from a museum.
Yeah.
They managed to like melt it and sell it away, and the museum never retrieved their artifact. And like, they were already on trial for this particular thing, for that particular job. And while this whole situation was going on, they also managed to get into another museum and get another, and loot other things as well. So it was a scandal not only because of the loss. We're talking about the royal Saxon jewels. But it also highlighted the inefficiency of the system to basically deal with people who do things like that. But thankfully, most of them are back, and the Dresden Green is safe and sound in the Dresden Castle today for people to go and admire it.
Okay, so Fenia, to summarize this, right? When we think of all the big important diamonds that we've talked about, right? This one has a fantastic history that we know a lot about, which I think is really important and interesting. It's a great shape. It's a pendulock shape. You know, antique dealers and diamond dealers love antique pendulock shaped diamonds. But the thing that really sets us apart is that color. It's a fantastic shade of green, and it really looks like a green diamond. You know, sometimes with colored gemstones, they have a hint of a color, or you can kind of look at a certain light, you can see it. This is a vivid green 41 carat diamond with a fantastic history. It's had a very lucky history. It's been moved. Every time there's been a crisis, it's been moved and it's been saved, and it's still there today because of this, and people can go and enjoy it.
That's a great way to view it, Matthew. At the beginning of the episode, we were talking about whether it is dangerous because it was created after being exposed to radioactive materials, radiation. But maybe it's not dangerous at all. It's just very lucky, so bring you luck.
Could be a green diamond. Maybe it's got a bit of Irish blood in it. Maybe there's a streak of luck and streak of Irish to the Dresden Green. For more than 300 years, the Dresden Green has survived kings, wars, revolutions, and even modern thieves. And it remains exactly where it has been for centuries. A real survivor from the golden age of diamonds. Next time on Gem Pursuit, we will be discussing another remarkable diamond. But for now, if you get a chance, we'd really appreciate it if you follow us on your podcast app, subscribe on YouTube, and also hit us up on our Instagram, which is @GemPursuitPod. We'll have behind the scenes content, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate, send them in to experts@courtville.ie, and we will get back to you. Thank you, Fenia, for joining me today. Thanks to Veronique for the research on today's episode, Colin for videography, Chloe for assisting on production today, and of course Ross of Tape Deck for producing the episode. And for me, Matthew Weldon, thank you for joining us. Until the next time, happy hunting and keep an eye out for some green diamonds.